Okay, I think we are recording. Hello, happy September. This is Shauna Ortiz, and this is Back to Bible. And I am happy to say that we have now recorded 12 of these Bible studies for the team and for anyone else who is interested in watching our Bible studies. So hopefully they've been beneficial for you. Today's topic is going to be about change. Many times we start to figure out that things are changing and we get very nervous about that. We start to fear change. We start worrying about the change, and we're thinking about it coming along, and we start just really getting upset about that. We start thinking about how is it going to impact our family, or how is it going to impact our business. Sometimes we even go to measures to try to prevent that change from occurring. And so the reason why we typically do that when changes are occurring or when changes are on their way is because we experience a loss of control. And so when things start to change, we don't know what to expect any longer. We don't know what is next. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going on. Changes are coming, changes are happening, and it feels very unsettling. And so we start to get kind of freaked out by that. So my question for you guys is change good? And then secondly, do you think change is from God? And so that's what I want us to really talk about today. There's a familiar passage. It's frequently read at funerals and memorials, but it's not just a passage for that. A lot of times we associate certain verses or certain passages with certain events, and we kind of just think that that's all they're for. But there is a passage in Ecclesiastes 3, and it's important for us to understand that the Bible is very clear about change. Things must change. That's what the Bible says. And there are times and there are seasons for everything. So yes, God does support change, and we need to understand that, okay? So I'm going to read just that whole passage out of Ecclesiastes 3. It says, starting with verse 1, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. So this passage is very clear. You can't just keep doing the same thing forever. It's not okay. It's not going to work. One of the things that I think about is, if you just kept planting forever, but you never brought in the harvest, then you wouldn't actually be a farmer. You'd just be a planter, because all you're doing is just planting and planting, planting and planting. You just keep doing the same thing, but you never go and bring in the fruits of your labor. So what is the purpose of the planting? If you never switch seasons and decide, you know what, it's time for me to stop planting. I have to actually go in there and bring in the crops. I have to do something differently. So again, we wouldn't want to waste our time doing that same activity over and over. We've got to be able to make that change. We can apply that to our It Works business. If we're just going out there and signing up a bunch of new customers and signing, but we never go back and follow up with those customers, and we never ask them, how are you doing? Do you love the products? Is this helping you? Do you need something else? What are your other needs? If we don't go back and do that, then we really just become a signer. We're not necessarily a business person. A business person wants to take care of all of their customers, and they want to go back in there and make sure that they're doing okay and they're doing well. So again, that's just another example of that, of why we would have to switch that up. Okay, sometimes we do get stuck in a rut and we start doing the same things over and over and over. And unfortunately, we usually expect a different outcome. And this is just not possible. So, I've had clients come to me before. I am a licensed professional counselor. I do have a counseling practice, and I'll have clients come to me and they'll say, I'm waiting for a change. I'm wanting a change to happen in my life. And I'll say, okay, great. What is it that you're doing? to evoke this change? What is it that you're working on right now to get these changes to occur? And a lot of times they'll tell me nothing. I'm waiting for a change to happen. And what that's called, therapeutically, we call that a cognitive distortion. You can also call it a thinking error. It's a thinking error. The way you're thinking is not rational. You're doing the same things, but you're expecting a different outcome. And so that specific thinking error is called magical thinking. And it's a very immature way of thinking. And not to be rude or disrespectful for anyone, a lot of us do it. You just kind of get in this little way of kind of dreaming almost, like I'm just waiting for this to happen. I'm not going to really do anything differently. I'm just hoping and wishing that something different can happen. And so again, it's magical thinking. So, I'll stop that person and I'll tell them, okay, well, you've done absolutely nothing, to evoke change. So, it's not rational for us to believe that a change is going to occur. Now, what could we do? And so that's where we start talking, with the clients of, let's try to problem solve this and let's try to come up with something different that you could actually do that could possibly create change. So, one of the things that it says in the book of Isaiah it's in, let me see where it's at. It's Isaiah 43 and starting with verse 18. It says, but forget all of that. It is nothing compared to what I am going to do. And another version says that part right there, forget the former things, do not dwell on the past, for I am about to do something new. See, I have already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness. I will create rivers in dry wasteland. And so this particular little passage here says, forget those old things. Let those old things go and look at what I'm doing. Look at this new thing that I'm going to do. And so for us to be able to have a new thing occur, we have to let go of some stuff and we have to get prepared to move on and do something different. So one of the first things that we must do in order to create or cause change in our life is, like I said, let it go. We've got to stop doing the exact same things over and over if we want that new thing to happen. We can't continue to dwell on the old thing. Most of the time, we just tend to hold on to things way past the time that we should. And if we pay attention to God's creations, we can see that everything that God has created changes constantly. It's constantly changing. We can look at the sunrises and we can see the sunsets, and they're completely different. And yesterday's sunrise doesn't look like tomorrow's sunrise. Doesn't look like today's sunrise. They're all different. And so we've got all these different things that we can look at in nature of how they're all so different. We can look at the clouds and all of a sudden it's a super cloudy day. And then, by the end of the day, it's blue skies and the clouds are gone. We can look at the trees and we'll see that the trees are full of leaves. And then the next thing we know, they're bare. And, we're preparing for winter. The flowers are in full bloom and then they wither. We've got the tides that rise and the tides that fall. The tides fall. And so these are all different things that we can just look at, in everyday life and realize God has things changing and moving all around us. So if God's creation is doing all of that, then why are we staying the same? Why are we trying to hold on to the same relationships, the same career forever, the same, whatever it is, something that's just starting to get stagnant. And I'm not saying that there's any type of time frame that you should only be in a job for this certain amount of time or anything like that. Of course not. But when God prompts you, you should have that feeling inside like, wow, you know what? I think I need to change something. I think I need to move something along here. And not feel worried or fearful that if you do change something, that something bad is going to happen. So again, if we look at our relationships, we look at our careers, have they grown stagnant? Have we started to, realize that there's some issues there? Do we have that feeling in our heart that we need to let go of some stuff, that we need to move on, that we need to move, maybe just in general, just move? Maybe we need to pull away from a certain area or a certain group of people. And again, we can't fear the change. What happens is a lot of times, even in a bad situation, people will choose bad over the unknown. And this I see all the time in counseling. I'll ask them, okay, well, is the situation that you're in right now, is it good? Is it okay? And they'll say, no, it's not good. And I'll say, oh, okay, are you ready to change? Well, I don't know. What do you mean by change? And so even though they're stating that, no, their home life is not good or their job is not good, they're not wanting to pick the unknown over bad. They'll just keep bad because they already know bad. And to me, that's not acceptable. And again, I mean, if the client doesn't want to change, he doesn't want to change. I'm not going to help them with that. I'm not going to force anyone to change. But for me personally, I'm saying it's not acceptable for me. I'm not going to choose bad because it's what I know. That's not okay for me. Like, I need more than that. So we have people that stay in unhealthy relationships. We have people that stay in jobs that they can't stand. We've got people that live in towns or communities or even states that they hate. And if you go through Facebook, you'll see it every day. I hate this city. I hate this town. I hate this job. Are you still there? Stop posting about it on Facebook. Get out and do something different. Make a change. You don't need to post every day that you don't like it. You need to take that leap of faith and do something different about it. We're not frozen. We're not frozen in time. We have the ability to move and do things. Okay. And again, how can God do that new thing in our life if we're not willing to move or if we're not willing to change? He's not going to do a new thing right in the middle of our stagnant water of things that we've never moved and we've never changed. And he's just going to come in there and poof, do something right there. He's going to want you to move and get things going along so that you can see what that new thing is. And remember, our goal is supposed to be that we are becoming more Christ-like. That's one of the things that it says in the Bible, that we need to become more like Christ. And how are we going to be able to do that if we are in this stagnant situation? If we're never changing, then we're not becoming more like Christ. And so that's something that, we've got to realize. I have to budge out of where I'm at. I've got to move out of where I am, out of this current situation, if I'm actually trying to become more Christ-like, if I'm actually trying to become more like him. And what else do we have that, assists us in this changing process? The first thing was that you're going to have to let go of some of that stuff in the past. But what else do we have with that? We must remember that Jesus Christ is our focal point. The Bible says in Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So he's the one that we have to focus on. He's the one that's not going to change, Jesus Christ. It's easy to get lost. It's easy to get disoriented. It's easy to get confused when you start to change. Things start to feel uncomfortable. You don't know what's happening anymore. You used to know exactly what to expect. Even though it was bad, you knew what to expect, and it was every day, every day, every day. And now things are changing, and so you feel like you don't know what's next. You're starting to get that anxiety or some of that fear. And so we've got to be able to say, wait, what's my focal point? This is my focal point. Jesus Christ is my focal point. Some of y'all know that I live down here at South Padre Island, and one of the things that can happen when you get out on the water is you can get disoriented very easily. If you're in a kayak or you're on a boat, you start looking around and everything looks the same. And if you don't get a focal point, I usually look for a water tower along the shore or something. But if you get that focal point, then it doesn't matter, how long you've been out. It doesn't matter how far you've gone. You can keep looking around, you find your focal point, and you can get back to that same area. People have, I've seen people, even guests that we've had, have gotten, easily and quickly disoriented, and they're headed the wrong direction. And we're calling to them, hey, where are you going? Come back, come back. And they don't even realize that they've taken off in the wrong direction, just because everything looks the same. And so that's why it's important for you to have that focal point. If we have Jesus as our focal point, we continue to look back at him, and we keep checking in with him. Is this right? Is this right? Is what I'm doing in line with what you want me to do? And you'll be able to feel that in your heart. You'll know if you're making those right decisions. You'll know, even though there's some of that, I don't really know, that uncomfortable, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel good about it. I feel solid. I feel like this is what God is wanting me to do. I literally can't tell you where I'm going to be in 2 weeks, or what I'm going to be, who I'm going to be working with, or what I'm going to be doing, but I feel good about what I'm doing. You should have that assurance from God. And another example is, when we have children and we try to encourage them to go do something new, and we kind of push them out there, and we tell them, go up there, go ask her, go up there. And one of the things that you'll always know about a kid is that they'll turn back around and they'll keep looking at you like, am I still doing it right? Am I still going right? You want me to go over there? And you keep, go, you got it, you got it. And you keep nudging them forward. So we become that focal point for the child. The child doesn't really know what they're doing. They've never really done that before, but you just keep nudging them along. And if we think about that with God, we're the child. We don't know exactly what he wants us to do. But if we keep checking in with him, am I right? Am I right? Is this the right way? Are we going the right way? Then that will get that assurance from him. You're on the right path. You're going the right way. Keep going. You've got this. You're doing it. You've got this. Okay, so let me see. I had a scripture here. Okay, here it is. In Deuteronomy 31:6, it says, God needed Joshua to move a nation and get them to take over a new land. So God tells Moses, who tells Joshua in verse 6 of chapter 31 in Deuteronomy, so be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, and do not panic before them. For the Lord your God will personally go ahead of you. He will neither fail you nor abandon you. And so this is something that I think it's very important for us to understand. Joshua needed to move a nation. He needed to get a whole nation to move. And basically God tells Moses to tell Joshua, tell him, don't get out there and flip out on everybody. Don't freak out. Don't panic in front of everybody. I'm going to go before Joshua. I'm going to help him lead this nation. So don't have fear. So, what that tells me is that if we have something we need to do, I doubt that we need to move a nation. There's not a lot of that going on these days. But whatever it is that we need to do, if we, can, again, focus back on God and believe that he's going to go out in front of us. He's going to lead. He's going to open those doors that we need open. Because we can start saying, oh my gosh, why would they even hire me? I don't even have enough experience. Oh my gosh, these people probably won't even take me into that apartment. I don't even have good credit. What if I go and my car doesn't make it to that other city or that other state? And God is saying, I'm going to go before you. I'm going to take care of all that. I'm going to make sure that you're able to get there, that those changes and everything that you need happening is going to happen. And so we have to just have that faith, and we have to believe, okay, this is the way it's going to happen. This is how it's all going to go down. God is going to get in there, and he's going to make that happen. He's going to go right in front of us, okay? All right. Let's see. It says in Jeremiah 29:11, the Bible says, for I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. So here's my question for you. It says that he has plans for us before our birth, okay? He knew what those plans were from the very, very beginning. He knew what they were for us. So have you ever asked, or have you asked recently what those plans are? Because just like I was talking about, getting in that kayak and taking off and then wondering, where am I? Sometimes that happens in our careers. Sometimes that happens in our relationships. We can get so far away, we don't even know how we got there anymore. We're kind of lost, and we don't know what's going on at this point. You used to know where you were. You used to know where you were going. You used to know what your goals were. And now you've just kind of been going along, just without even looking up, just paddling, and just head down and going. And you're going 90 miles an hour, but where are you going? What's your destination? What are you looking for? And so this is what this is saying. Like, he has plans for us. He knows what those plans are. They're good plans. Have we checked in on what those plans are? Have you ever? Or maybe it just hasn't been recently. Because this is something that would actually scare me. If I thought I was not in the plan that God has for me, that would worry me. That would worry me way more than changing to try to get to the plan that he wants me to be in. Because some of us are kind of running like parallel to what his plan is for us, not necessarily right there, but right beside it. And so it's important for us to figure out, okay, how do I get over there to that path that you want me to be on? I think a lot of people have kind of this irrational fear that if I ask God what he wants me to do, he's probably going to tell me like to be a preacher or something. That's not going to happen, probably. God doesn't need 99 billion preachers. That's not why he created humans, so that we could all become preachers. So he's, you can check in with him, and he may very well tell you, I need you to be a teacher. One of my really good teacher friends, she's actually now, I think, a principal, just recently was talking about how, teaching is a calling. It's not just a job. And if you don't have that calling, you probably shouldn't be in that field. And so I believe that. I think that goes right along with this, that you have to know in your heart that God is getting you into this certain path. There's just certain jobs and certain career fields that you don't need to be in unless God has you there. So again, let me see. I'm looking over here at where did I have my mix? Okay. Basically, what I was going to say here on this part was that, if we have veered off, like I said before, if we veered off of this path or veered off of this, whatever the goals or the plans are that God had for us, it could be for several different reasons. It could be because of money. Sometimes we may think, well, I don't have the finances to go to college, so I'm not going to go. Well, there is financial aid out there, and there are loans. You can get loans. People don't like to do that, but school loans are some of the easiest loans that you can pay back. And so it is something that you at least should consider if you feel like you should be doing more than what you're doing now. So it could be money. It could be time. It could be health. There could be some type of a health thing that comes up. And you just feel like, well, maybe later if I'm feeling better doing this, whatever, then I'll try to do something different. It could even be advice from others. Sometimes we hear too many people talking and telling us things. We kind of know in our heart what we need to be doing, but then we've got all these people around us chattering and telling us, what about this? What about this? Why don't you try this? You should try that. And really, we need to be asking God, what do you think I should be trying? Where do you think I should be going? Where are you leading me? And it could just be simply expectations from others. Some people, I remember I worked at one of the jobs and one of the people wanted me to be an administrator in that job. And I remember looking at that person and telling them, that's not my career ladder. I have no desire. There's no desire in my heart to be an administrator in this particular job. And it's not because I hadn't been an administrator before. I had. But at this point, I knew that I was already so close to doing the whole private practice and the counseling and everything else that I knew administrator, like basically that was going one way and counseling therapist was going the opposite. And I just knew, no, what do you mean? And I remember, thinking about the salary and thinking about, the promotion, and then there's, the certain level of authority that you have if you're this administrator. And, those things, okay, they make logical sense, probably, you're kind of going up and up and up. But I really just started thinking, but my path is going this way. And that's what I did. I did kind of veer off, and a lot of people were surprised by that. But I knew that inside that was not my career ladder. And so if I had listened to, the expectations of others, the advice of others, a lot of people would have said, that's awesome. You're moving up. You're going to be an administrator, blah, blah, blah. That's just not, it wasn't there for me. I knew that wasn't there for me. Okay. So let me see, okay. One of the things that I did want to mention is that, we do have free will. We have the ability to say no every day of our lives to anything that God is suggesting or recommending or throwing out there. And I think that, some people feel like, well, if I start to do something that God tells me, then he's just going to keep telling me all these things and I just have to keep doing all this stuff. And people kind of get worried about that. And again, we always have the ability to take that as far as we want to take that. We don't all have to lead Bible studies. We don't all have to be, like I said, a preacher. We don't have to do that sort of thing. It's just, there's always going to be this nudging of, do you want to try it? Do you want to do more? Do you want to go up to the next level? And that's where it's your choice. It's your free will if you want to do that. And none of this, I want to make sure it's very clear, none of this prevents you from going to heaven. So please don't get it in your head that if I'm not on the right path, I'm not going to heaven. Not a path to heaven. That's not what it is. It's a path to an incredible life. It's a path out of that rut that that we were talking about from the beginning of no change. It's that path. It's the path into, look at this awesome life that you can have doing all these fantastic things. But whether you get into heaven or not, that's a completely different issue. That's if you've accepted Jesus Christ into your heart. That's how you make the decision, or that's how you know if you're going to make it to heaven, not if you're on the right path. You can live on the wrong path your whole life, accept Jesus Christ into your heart, and you're still going to go to heaven. Okay? So don't worry about that part. That's from the Bible. Okay. But what I did want to mention is that you always have the ability, you can ease up a little bit and start doing a little bit more, kind of move out of that comfort zone a little bit more and try more. And, God will throw you something else. And what about this? And what about talking to this person or doing this? And as you move along, it's up to you. If you make that decision, okay, I'm going to change a little bit more. I'm going to try a little bit harder. I'm going to do something a little bit different. And as long as you, keep nudging along, you're going to see some really incredible things happening in your life. And it's different for everybody, but I can assure you it's going to be amazing, because once you get on that path of what he's wanting you to do, it just feels like you're where you're supposed to be. And it might be a lot of work. I'm certainly not telling you that it's not a lot of work, because I work a lot. It will be a lot of work, but once you're in that path, like my friend that I was talking about, that has the calling to be in education, that woman, she works all the time, but she loves what she does and she's passionate with what she does. And, I know nobody would be able to tell her, hey, cut back, just do your 40 hours, you're good, go back. She wouldn't just do that, because this means more to her. And so that's what I'm talking about being in that right path with God there. And again, if you've ever prayed for change, or if you've ever hoped or believed for change, one of the things that you have to understand is that change is going to require action. You will have to make the changes. You will have to take steps to be able to move and to change. Okay, so if you've cried out for that, if you have, begged for that, I need change, I need something more than this, Lord, there has to be something more than this in this life. There is, but you're going to have to take those steps towards change. And you might have to leave friends behind. You might have to leave some family members behind. You might have to leave a whole city behind and do something different. But it's going to be up to you if you're going to make those decisions to change. And then don't be surprised if that new thing is not what you expected at all. The last time I prayed for change, which was not too long ago, a couple of years ago, I shortly thereafter ended up signing up as a distributor for It Works, and here I am. So again, change, I did want change, but in my head, I was thinking a completely different change. And that's, God doesn't think the way that we think. And so he brought It Works into my life, and I thought, what is this for? Why do I need this? I have no idea. I believe in all the products. They're awesome. And, I'm healthy now. And oh my gosh, I'm so thankful for that. But why would I need to be a distributor? This doesn't even make sense to me. And so it was just within a couple of months, I'm a distributor, but then I also start recording Bible studies. So how these two things are connected, I have no idea. But what I do know is that I never recorded Bible studies before It Works. So somehow they're related. I think Senya is in the middle of that somehow. But anyway, just understand that when you do pray for change, when you ask for change, when change comes, it probably won't look the way that you think it's going to look. And you have to just be willing to step out in faith and just say, okay, I don't even understand this. I don't even know what we're doing, but I'm just going to take it step by step, and I'm going to believe in you, God, and I'm going to keep you as my focal point, and I'm going to keep checking back and making sure you're in this, you're in this, you're in this, and you'll keep getting those confirmations from God all along the way, so that yeah, God is in this. He's definitely in this. So again, don't fear change. Embrace it and just hold on and prepare for the next adventure. All right, we'll see y'all. Thank you. Bye-bye.